So in the summer of 2018, I learned that the miraculous is actual reality and that everything else is an illusion. It was quite on accident. I wasn't expecting to learn this as I did. But I'm gonna back up a little bit. Wanted to talk a little bit about my parents. So my parents were raised and grown up in Oklahoma. They make jokes about how their family came over in the land rush. I'm not sure if that's true. My parents were both incredibly Catholic, very, very devout, very, very religious. They were both incredibly intelligent. My dad got his bachelor's in math and his master's degree in philosophy. The way my parents met was very strange. So I had this Uncle Warren, and he had some kind of a developmental delay. I'm not even sure what was happening with him, but somehow my dad started like being a pen pal with my Uncle Warren. And so my mother would transcribe letters from my uncle to my dad. And then they met at a dance, and they ended up getting engaged very quickly. But my grandmother said, you cannot get married until you get your degree. And so they were engaged for a year, and my mother got her bachelor's in music. When asked what she was going to do with her bachelor's in music, she would tell you, I'm going to have it. So this is me, probably in my favorite place in the world. My dad was very, very, very important to me. He was an amazing father, very, very, very dependable. Like, you knew he was going to be there and he was going to take care of you. And he was an incredibly amazing human. He did smoke a pipe. And whenever I go into a tobacco shop, I always think of him, and I'm like, I just love the smell of it, even though it's a terrible thing. And there I was, happy with my dad. And so as a very young person, we lived the Christian holidays. I don't know how my mother did it, how she got us three girls dressed in patent leather shoes, tights, hair bows, but somehow she managed. Every holiday is my parents. And there I am again with my dad. And this picture, like, actually I started laughing when I was really looking at it, because if you look very closely, there's a wrench. And it's like, my dad was always doing this kind of thing where he never like got a mechanic for anything. He thought he could fix whatever it was. But it was back in the days when there were no remotes. Okay, so we'd be watching Gilligan's Island. I remember this verbatim. We'd be watching Gilligan's Island. Dad would come home, the TV, and he would tell one of us, go change the station. But it looks like the knob had fallen off. And I'm not sure what was going on there, but that's my dad. He was so funny. So once again, we lived through all the holidays, my mother making sure. My mother was the one who started the tradition of the homemade cake that I have continued on with my own children. Homemade cakes, and if I don't make one, they tell me verbatim, you don't love me anymore. I'm not allowed to bring a cake, and you all know about the cake. If I don't bake a cake, I don't love them anymore. Another picture of us. This one is the next one is super interesting. So I was a really sick baby. I had to get hemoglobulin shots all the time. I had high fevers. I mean, I was very, very ill through my whole babydom until I was about 4 years old. And my parents, the doctor said, well, the doctor told my mother that she had old genes. She was only 31 when she had me, but back then I guess that was old. And so apparently my mother had done something and I didn't have enough hemoglobin. So I always had to get these shots. But anyway, I had to have this surgery. And I remember waking up and seeing my mother sitting by my bed, so doing the God's eyes. Remember God's eyes? Well, my mother did everything full force. She never did anything half. And so then the next thing you know, the whole wall is just a display of God's eyes. This one, I'm not really sure why I added this one. It's just a little bit for me at the beach. Thought it was kind of a sweet picture. Here I am. This must have been a vacation, and I'm holding the dog, always being the dog lover that I am today. So my parents were a little bit unusual, at least in the sense that they were very, very open to other faiths. They were, my dad loved Muhammad Ali. He loved people of all different faiths. In fact, I'm having this memory of when the space shuttle crashed, my dad used to carve crosses all the time, and he made this cross that they had the cross in the middle, and then it had a Star of David, and it had a flame for the Muslim religion of all the faiths of the astronauts who had lost their lives that day. I think that he donated it. It's probably in some museum somewhere, or maybe somebody just trashed it. But I really appreciate the fact that my parents were like that. And they were that way politically too. I never heard my parents talk a negative word about any president. And in fact, I do remember them because they were staunch Republicans. I remember rationing gas. So it was like Jimmy Carter, and they were rationing gas. So they had respect for whatever president that was there. But they wanted us to be Catholic. Us being Catholic was very important to my parents. And so here I am with my first communion, my little prayer book, and my first communion. And this is me growing up. My dad was thrilled to the gills when I got confirmed. We went to the cathedral in Phoenix. I was very active in the church there in Phoenix. And this is my dad looking pleased as punch that I had chosen to be confirmed in the Catholic religion. So I had, when I was really little also, I had some kind of like delay. I don't know what was going on. I mean, I think now I may have had apraxia. I've talked to Anne about this, my speech therapist person. I didn't talk well my whole childhood that I remember. They were always taking me out of class and asking me to say words, but my mother was not going to put me in therapy. There was no way. So, and my mother believed that music could cure anything, so that's what my mother did. She put me in, and she would say she gave me Mozart. So I started the violin when I was 4 years old. I played in an ensemble. My violin teacher was Max Mandel. He played in the Phoenix Symphony. He had developed a program, well, he didn't develop it, but he brought it from Japan, Suzuki music, where I learned to play the violin by ear. And so I believe that my mother and my violin teacher had a deep wish that I would become a virtuoso. I was a very, very, very shy child too, with horrible stage fright. So in about middle school, and I remember it verbatim, Mr. Mandel decided that I was going to learn how to read music. It was the equivalent of saying, you're going to learn Chinese now. Time for you to learn Chinese. And I'm sitting there going, I'm going to do what? And so I practiced and practiced. I mean, I tried to learn how to read music, but it was not great. So I came home one day and thought I'd be real smart and said, Mom, I don't want to play the violin anymore. And then she said, well, why not? Because I guess I said, because I want it to be fun. But what she heard was, I just want to have fun. And that Cyndi Lauper song haunted me my whole life. And then my mom and but I couldn't break my mother's heart, so I continued with the violin. And I think in this, I'm in high school, and I do indeed look like I'm having fun. But I used to toy with her, and we would go see like great musicians like Yehudi Menuhin, or Isak Perlman is one of my favorite violinists ever. I saw him in concert, cried through the whole thing. Unbelievable master of the violin. And I would say to my mother in this impish way, I think that they're having fun, Mom. And I bet she hated that, but I still continued. So nobody asked me much when I was growing up what I wanted to do. What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your degree? Do you want to get a degree? I mean, it was never, I mean, I knew I was going to go to college because I don't know how I knew. I just knew I had to go to college. But did I know what I wanted to do? And nobody ever asked me what I wanted to do. But I knew as a Catholic female that my choices were pretty limited. I was going to become a nun, or I was going to become a wife and mother. And so I have to say it just as a joke. In the words of Charlie Kirk, I did go to college to get my MRS. And it didn't really happen that way at all. My dad ended up dying my last semester of my bachelor's degree, and it changed the trajectory of my life because he was at that point the closest person to me, and his passing like really shook me deeply. But anyway, so I was just living my life, and I was, I guess, looking for a mate, and I had gone to this home mass, and I had met this person, and of course we did get married, and we ended up having 2 children, James and Nancy. So I go on with married life. We get married in the Catholic Church. We go with the Catholic holidays. I'm just like continuing on the tradition of my Catholic upbringing. And I am just floundering as a human. I am deeply unhappy. Like my life was nothing at all like I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought I was going to have a partner. I thought it was going to be camaraderie. It was going to be romantic. I thought all these things about it, and I felt so unhappy. And I also learned that from my society, from my church, from my family, from all these things outside of myself, that it was outside of myself where my joy and happiness would be found. That it would be found in a relationship, that it would be found in getting a college degree, then buying a house and having children, and all these places outside of myself that I was going to somehow magically arrive, right? So that really didn't happen, and I really struggled, and my first marriage just did fall apart. And I forgot to do something, so I'll do it right now. I'm gonna go back. I forgot my props. Okay, so when my mother had all those like gatherings, she would have all of these bowls of candy, and I would run in as a little one, and I would grab a handful, and then I go, and then I would run, hoping that she didn't notice. So this is why I brought little handfuls of candy.
Are those your mother's
I've already
dishes?
got 3.
I've already had three.
I already had 2. I already had 3.
Do we have to run?
No, and you don't have to rifle anything. You're welcome.
Are they your mom's dishes?
Yes, they are my mom's dishes. Those are the official rifling dishes. Thank you. I forgot about that. Okay. So then when my life as a single mother, but some of these pictures are like in differing orders. There I am with James when he was just a little wee baby. Yeah, I'm with James. And then here I am, James and Nancy, one of the Christmases in one of our houses. There I am with Max. I did go on to get married again. I had, between my, my marriages, I had got into a lotion shop here in Bashford Court. So I go in this lotion shop and the shop owner tells me, my ex-husband would love you. And I'm like, okay. So I agreed to like meet this person. So I'm living in this apartment and I hear him buzzing up the street because I agreed to a motorcycle ride, which was either suicidal or super adventurous. I'm not really sure, but I am still here to talk about it. And he comes up and I can hear him. So I go out and I look and he is really kind of cute as a button. And he's got this like silvery brown hair and he's wearing like a leather jacket and leather, you know, motorcycle boots, and he's got it all going. He was not, I'm going to say this wrong too. He was not a Harley Davidson guy. He was a Moto Guzzi guy, as that's what he would say. But anyway, so we ended up having Max, and then we got married, and we tried to be married. We attempted. We went on many adventures. He got us an RV, and we would go to California, to Colorado. We went to Mexico. Have you ever driven a motorhome in Mexico? I wouldn't recommend it. It was a bumpy ride. But anyway, we had like wonderful adventures, but there was always this feeling of like a pressure cooker. It was like we were all in this pressure cooker and it was just so like, he seemed so unhappy. But then like, so was I. But not necessarily having to do with anything in my life. It was going back to before, just looking for things outside of myself to be happy. And here's another one. Me and my little sweetie. And then my kids did all grow up. Here's a picture of all of us grown up. This is Christmas this last year. They all grew up to be functioning, wonderful humans. So in 2016, things start to get really weird for me. I start to have some like really weird stuff going on. And I'm looking at the clock every day multiple times on the 11. I'm going to the Raven and my pub tab is 11:11. So I'm starting to have like these really weird things going on and I'm like, am I gonna die? So I write my last will and testament just in case. And I decide, and I'm like, okay, we'll have my celebration of my life at the birdcage, of course. And we'll have the cheek tones play, but do you think they'll play 80s music all night? So I got pictures of my cheek tones. Those people are not playing 80s music all night. There's no way they're gonna be playing Depeche Mode, I don't think so. But anyway, so I started to notice that it was really strange. God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. I started to notice that by a process of thumbs up and thumbs down, it was kind of like my Pandora app. So the more I had the thumbs up, the more music I wanted to listen to. So I started to notice that when I noticed these little things that were happening, these little synchronicities that were happening in my life, I would get them more. The more that I noticed and the more thankful I was, I would get them more. Nothing could have prepared me for the summer of 2018, nothing. So my life was a trifecta of grief. I had lost a significant relationship in my life. I had realized that I didn't have like a social structure that was going to help me if things fell apart in my life. And I lost my job. And I just went to bed and I was like, okay, just take me. I'm tired of the struggle. I'm tired of all of it. Like, just, I'm going to go to sleep and please, I don't want to wake up. So I wake up in the middle of the night, enveloped in the most ineffable, like indescribable love and light. And I felt like I was levitating. It was so amazing. And then I fell asleep. And when I woke up the next day, I was changed. I was changed and I was never going to be the same again. And I knew it. It was as if somebody had taken off my glasses and put on a different lens. The paradigm had completely shifted. And I was acting a little strangely in the process of all of this. And all the people in my life are super worried. They're going, we don't know what to do with mom or with our friend. Like, she's being really weird. And I had no explanation for what was happening to me. I had really very few people to talk to about it. There was no reference point for what I was experiencing. So I end up going to visit one of my friends. So I hop in my car and I drive to San Francisco and I hang out with Tanya, who I've known for probably 25 years now. Our children we used to drink coffee and our children used to sit on, like, play under the table together. And we end up hanging out and I end up she's working and during the day I'm going to the beach. It's in Sebastopol, California. And I am just having a really good time, but also trying to figure things out. So I go and I do a little bit of investigating online, like what is happening to me. And there was this idea of some kind of celestial events that were happening that summer. Some kind of idea of the consciousness of the planet, of being that, of the possibility of world peace, that there were enough people who were living in a loving state on the planet that there was a possibility of world peace. Anyway, so at some point I have to get home. I know that my son is going to be needing me. And so I'm like, I have this sense of dread because I'm living like half the day in heaven and then the other half of the day in like hell. Should be the other way, right? The morning I'm in heaven and and so, but I get in my car and I drive and I'm driving home and I'm taken over by this like horrible energy. It was like just a terrible energy of like hatred and anger and fear and self-loathing, and I'm feeling all of this like grief and pain like in my chest, and I'm like trying to drive and I just like feeling this overwhelming crushing on my heart space. And finally, about 30 miles before, it's like in Chino Valley, and it's dark by this point, I just decide I'm just gonna let all feeling into my body. So I just let go. I just surrender. And I fully thought that maybe I would leave my body. I didn't feel like I was driving my car anymore, but I did get home. I went upstairs and I went to bed. And then I wake up in the middle of the night. Here's where things get a little crazy, so bear with me. This gets a little crazy. So I wake up in the middle of the night again, and I can't see them, but I can hear these entities, and they're like talking to each other, and they're like right in front of my face. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, don't they know that I can like hear them? And I agree to some kind of treatment. And I wake up the next day and I am just fully fine. I'm like doing better than fine. I'm doing okay. So somewhere in the midst of all of this, I go to hang out with my other friend. So my friend Kathy, who's not into all this woo-woo stuff, sorry, I know you're not, and she puts up with me. And we go over to Taratai. So we go over to Taratai and we're sitting there and we're like just eating dinner. And I'm just bleep, 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 bleep. And she's listening and like, yeah, Jamie, whatever. In the process of everything, there's a storm that's brewing outside. So there's a storm and there's lightning and it's spitting rain and it's really cloudy and a storm. So I go outside, we go outside and everybody leaves. Kathy's gone. There's nobody on the square. Although I am wondering if I could be seen. So I'm standing in front of this fountain and I hear in my head to drop my purse. So I drop my purse and I'm standing there and I'm getting all excited. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm gonna be beamed up into a UFO. And I'm like getting really excited. I'm like, that would be really cool. But I'm standing there and I'm not really sure what's gonna happen, but I'm thinking in my head, I don't know if I'm saying this out loud, but I'm like, I trust in the goodness of God. I trust in the goodness of God. I trust in the goodness of God. And then I start to experience electricity going all the way from my feet, all the way up into my body, in my head, and then in my hands. So I'm standing there and I'm experiencing this electricity all through my body. And I'm like, well, this is pretty peculiar. Like, what is this about? And so I'm not really sure how long I'm standing there, but I get really tired. So I go and I lay down and I'm shivering. It's very cold. And it's kind of spitting rain on me a little bit. And then all of a sudden I have this sensation of birthing. I have this sensation of birthing a new idea about the oppression of people on this planet. People who are native, people with color in their skin, the LGBTQ, people with differing abilities. I have this incredible feeling of birthing a new way of being on the planet. So I'm laying there for I don't even know how long, and then I end up deciding to go ground myself because I'm hearing lightning. So I go over and I'm hugging a tree very briefly. I'm hugging the tree and I'm just kind of going, okay, what am I doing? This is really weird. And when do I know this is over with? And then I hear in my voice, I hear in my head this say, do what you want to do. So I decide I'm ready to go home. So I go over, I pick up my purse and I drive home. Then 2 days later, and I also have to say, there were all kinds of weird celestial events going on that summer as well. So several days later, I'm out in the courtyard by my house. I was getting up very, very early in the morning at this point. and I was meditating a couple of hours a day because I didn't have anything else to do because I didn't have a job. So I got up really early. This particular morning was significant. And I can't even really tell you exactly why it was significant, but it was. So the sky was much darker when it started, but I start to like do this like very, 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 very strange chant. I've never done anything like this before. I've never even thought to do anything like this before. But I start to do this chant, and I start to say things of the nature of glory to God in the highest. Glory to God in the highest. Gloria in excelsis Deo. And I start to chant, and then I get tired, so I lay down. Okay, and this is a true story. I lay down. No sooner do I lay down, the sprinklers come on. And I start to get all wet, and so I stand up, and the sprinklers turn off. This is no lie. So, and then I continue to chant for a period of time, and I just had this, like, again, with this idea about the oppression of people on this planet and people living in freedom. Native people, people with color in their skin, the LGBTQ, people of differing abilities, being able to just live their life in peace and in joy and in freedom. And so I start to bellow out from somewhere. Y'all, I never did anything like this before. The word freedom, like some kind of bizarro native person or something. It was very, very, very strange. But then I realized, okay, I'm done. I'm done with whatever this is. So later that day, these images just show up on my phone. They just showed up, like, and I was very, like, at the time I was taking a lot of screenshots, and I just very luckily took a screenshot of the picture that had showed up on my phone. And it wasn't just one picture, it was two pictures that just showed up on my phone. And I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that we aren't alone. And I knew that the miraculous is actual reality, and that everything else is the illusion. We're done. Yay! And where do we go from here? I have no idea.
So did it just go away,
Did what go away?
the picture?
No, I ended up taking a screenshot,
Yeah.
thank God. And so I had it on my phone because I just, yeah, two of them just appeared. I've looked at them multitudes of times trying to figure out, like I can't make any sense of it. I wish somebody could for me. They look really strange.
They look human.
But
Yeah, like a face with glasses.
So my question is, Jamie, you follow the group, right? So when I'm looking at these images, right? Because sometimes we know we could attract. There is a real science about that, our thought and stuff. But have you ever met anybody looking like this in the group you follow? When you take retreats?
I've never seen anything like this. God, and I'm so embarrassed to say this, but it's just the dang truth. Okay, so at the same time, it's so bizarre because I did see on Instagram, Deepak Chopra had put on his a picture that was very similar to mine. And so I tried to IM him to say, like, where did you get that picture? Because I've never seen anyone put anything like that.
And it just appeared on your phone? On your screen?
Did he respond?
No, he did not respond.
I'm sorry, who was this person?
Well, oh, he's like a guru that recently has been found to be in sex scandals. But
Yes.
yeah.
He's one of them.
But
Yeah, lots, way too many.
yeah.
Really? Do you think something or someone was trying to give you a message?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Man, that gave me cold chills.
Do you know anyone who resembles a little bit that image? Because it looks like a man's face, right?
So I know that it's mine. The reason why I know that that's my face is the glasses.
Oh, okay.
I can tell that it's my face, but it looks like it almost looks like, if you look by my eyes, kind of like wings. And then like the whole side of my face is it's just incredibly bizarre.